The date is Monday, March 23. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. Jamaica on Saturday welcomed 140 Cuban medical professionals to support the island's national response efforts for the coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton was on hand at the Norman Manley International Airport to welcome the Cubans.
Let me just say how happy we are to have you here in Jamaica. Thank you. Oh, well, they seem to understand. Great,
they have been in many countries, Minister. Okay. This is not their first nation.
We are really pleased. The government and the people of Jamaica really appreciate the support, really appreciate your coming. And we know it's challenging times for us. We know it's a challenging time for us, as it is for the world. But our friendship with the Cuban people has been strong in the area of healthcare. You have continued to give really important support to us, and you are so welcome now because of all the challenges that we are facing. Our local team of medical staff, our chief nurse, our doctors, they are going to ensure that you're well taken care of, that you're comfortable, and that you get all the necessary treatment that you deserve. Our other nurses and doctors are on standby. They know you are going to be here, and they're looking forward to building that relationship. I love Cuba. Cuba loves Jamaica. Okay, so thank you very much.
Cuban ambassador to Jamaica, Ines Fernandez, says that her country is happy to provide the support.
Well, just to say a few words, because the minister has said almost everything. When Jamaica called, Cuba said, yes, we are here to support the Jamaican people. So thank you so much for being here with us.
The nursing fraternity in Jamaica is delighted to have this level of support at this time when we are really very pressured. We were pressured before, but with what is happening with COVID, you know, there's a potential for us to even be more overwhelmed. And so with these persons coming in now to assist, it will greatly put a whole lot of stress off the system in terms of the workforce.
The team, which will be in quarantine for 14 days before beginning work, is comprised of 90 specialist nurses, including critical care, emergency, medical, surgical, and primary care, 46 doctors, including internists and hematologists, and 4 therapists. The arrival of the Cuban medical team is one in a variety of measures being taken by Jamaica to contain the spread of COVID-19 on the island. The private sector organizations have committed to assisting the government with the resources needed to effectively manage COVID-19 cases. Private sector organization of Jamaica members across various industries have committed to contributing a total of $150 million to purchase ventilators for hospitals that have been selected by the Ministry of Health and Wellness to handle people infected with the virus. Christopher Zaka, President and CEO of Sagicor Group of Jamaica and a member of the ministry's COVID-19 response advisory team, noted that it is the collective responsibility of all citizens to play their part in helping to control and mitigate against the spread of the virus. NCB Financial Group, Sagicor Group Jamaica, JMMB and Scotiabank Jamaica, Jamaica Boilers, Restaurants of Jamaica, JP Group, other businesses and various foundations make up the contributors. Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton, expressed gratitude for the donation. The decision has been made to close Jamaica's seaports and airports to contain local spread of the highly contagious respiratory illness COVID-19.
The Cabinet has today received an update on the development surrounding the anti-COVID-19 efforts. Arising from the report and deliberations of the Cabinet, the decision has been taken that 1, with effect from 11:59 p.m. on Saturday, March 21, 2020, and for a period of 14 days in the first instance, Jamaica's air and seaports will be closed to incoming passenger traffic. Outgoing passenger and cargo will be allowed. So cargo coming in, cargo going out will be allowed. Outgoing passenger definitely will be allowed.
The number of coronavirus cases in Jamaica is now at 19, and Prime Minister Andrew Holness says a partial closure of the nation's border would restrict the entry of passengers to the island. However, outgoing passengers and cargo would not be affected. In addition, Mr. Holness said the government will be increasing its emphasis in relation to the elderly and persons at risk by virtue of pre-existing conditions.
In relation to the elderly and persons at risk by virtue of pre-existing medical conditions. So you're going to be hearing much more from the government and a much more targeted focus on ensuring that the public is aware and that the government's response addresses the elderly and those persons with pre-existing condition.
Persons over the age of 60, as well as those with underlying conditions, are the most susceptible to the coronavirus. The new cases relate to a 38-year-old American male with a history of travel from Boston who arrived on the island on March 14. A 30-year-old female with a history of travel from New York arriving in Jamaica on March 17. And a 60-year-old female, a retiree of Portland. The latter case is under investigation. Mr. Holness said of the 19 cases, 5 are local transmissions. The National Water Commission, NWC, says it will not carry out disconnections during the period of COVID-19 outbreak. It says the decision is part of the national effort to limit the spread of the virus and ensure customers have adequate water supply to carry out effective hygiene practices. However, it said that it is encouraging customers to pay their bills on time. In the meantime, the NWC is closing its commercial offices for 1 week in response to the coronavirus pandemic. Customers are being encouraged to use alternative facilities. The NWC says it provides the necessary support to elders. The Ministry of Health and Wellness says that with reference to Gleaner article published on Sunday, March 22, entitled "Doctors, Nurses Test Positive for COVID-19", in a release stated no doctor, nurse, or any member of the frontline staff in the public health system or private practice in Jamaica have tested positive for COVID-19, and that there are no health workers excluded from the count of positive cases in Jamaica. Some members of the frontline staff have been in quarantine due to exposure to COVID-19 cases in Jamaica, but all have tested negative and are serving a quarantine period of 14 days. To safeguard our first responders, including nurses and doctors, Jamaica has established a protocol to randomly testing our healthcare team for COVID-19 and those who may have unknowingly come in contact with suspected COVID-19 cases. They undergo the requisite quarantine and testing protocols. Remember, in the event of an emergency related to COVID-19, the public is encouraged to contact 888-1-LOVE. That's 888-663-5683.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
E-Learning Jamaica Company Limited is seeking to increase the availability of virtual learning platforms for students amidst the closure of schools due to the threat of the coronavirus. Chief Executive Officer of ELJAM, Keith Smith, says specific emphasis will be placed on the exam cohort of grades 6, 11, 12, and 13. He informed that collectively approximately 100,000 students are registered to sit exams this year nationwide, and his team is aiming to extend the platform to cover the wider student population. Mr. Smith says over the last 5 days, the company have received proposals, seen demonstrations, and facilitated technical discussions with 5 vendors, 3 of whom have since submitted formal proposals to the company. The Island Traffic Authority has made a change in procedure for testing motor vehicles for certification of fitness in a bid to safeguard customers and workers from the spread of the coronavirus. Acting Director of Island Traffic Authority Donald Henry says the changes are for a period of 10 working days from March 16 to March 27. Henry says his team will not be test driving your vehicle. Instead, they'll ask the customers to drive the vehicle and test the braking system. Mr. Henry pointed out that the examiners are trained to look for specific things and that they are still able to assess the fitness of the vehicle without actually driving it. In addition, all drivers' license testing has been suspended from all Island Traffic Authority depot for 10 working days. Acting Director says the measures will be reviewed in tandem with directives received from the Prime Minister on how government entities should operate during this time. Employees of the global services and business process outsourcing companies are being encouraged to practice regular hand washing. Where possible, hand washing stations are being placed outdoors to allow employees to wash their hands before they enter a facility. A mandate has been reportedly established to ensure there is social distancing. Each employee within a BPO center is to be 6 feet away from each other. In addition, periodically fresh air will be allowed into the spaces. Buses transporting employees will also be encouraged to have their air conditioning turned off and windows opened, and operators are being asked to sanitize after each trip. The measures were decided following a meeting involving sector players and representatives of the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Tourism workers who are expected to lose their earnings as hotels temporarily cease operations amid the global spread of COVID-19 might be getting some financial relief to offset their losses. In a letter to tourism workers on the weekend, Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett underscored that he has been in dialogue with the Minister of Finance to work out a financial package for the affected tourism workers. The local tourism sector, which raked in some $3.7 billion in foreign exchange revenue to the economy from 4.3 million arrivals last year, directly employs 125,000 people and indirectly affects another 100,000. Tourism earnings, 9.5% of GDP, also contributes to 50% of the foreign exchange earnings to the economy. With the recent announcement by Prime Minister Andrew Holness that as at Tuesday, March 24 at 11:59 p.m., the country's air and seaports will be temporarily closed to incoming passengers. As at Friday, March 20, Jamaica has tested a total of 89 cases at the National Influenza Center. 19 cases have come back positive and 70 have been negative for COVID-19. And Mayor of Kingston and St. Andrew Delroy Williams has initiated a cleanup project across the corporate area. This includes washing sidewalks, handrails, bus stops, heavy trafficked surfaces in the halfway tree vicinity. The cleanups were done on Saturday. The US dollar on Friday, March 20 ended trading at $136.51, up by 43 cents, according to the Bank of Jamaica's daily exchange trading summary. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $94.69, down from $95.99, while the British pound sterling ended trading at $161.36, up from $160.59. In regional news, we look to Trinidad and Tobago. Up to Saturday, the Twin Island Republic reported 49 cases of the coronavirus or COVID-19. From midnight on Sunday, international flights will no longer be allowed into the country. We get more in this TTT news report.
Government took the decision as it ramps up measures to delay the spread of the COVID-19 virus. The measure applies to nationals and non-nationals, as previously announced by government.
From tomorrow night at midnight, Sunday night, the 22nd at midnight, we will no longer be allowing people into our borders, whether you are non-national, which already exist, or a national of Trinidad and Tobago, right? Airports and seaports. We are closing our borders until further notice.
Air and sea cargo will still be allowed into the country to bring food and pharmaceuticals, but the crews from those vessels will not be allowed to disembark. The inter-island air and sea bridges will remain open at this time, but the protocols will be reviewed.
At this stage, we are continuing with our domestic flight arrangements. I am in discussions with Caribbean Airlines. There will be, I suspect, changes based on the medical advice we've been listening to of social responsibility, social distancing, but we're leaving CAL at this time to work these logistics out.
Regarding citizens who may find themselves stranded outside of Trinidad and Tobago at this time, the National Security Minister said there was nothing he could do.
Venezuela, I'm getting messages about Guyana, but that is because those countries, those sovereign states have taken this decision to protect their countries and their people by shutting down their airports. There is nothing that Trinidad and Tobago can do or would try to do to persuade another sovereign state to open their airport.
And Caribbean Airlines says it is trying to assist nationals to return home. A statement from CAL CEO Garvin Madeira says as a result of decisions today by the governments of Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica to halt all international commercial flights, there are a number of imminent changes to CAL services. In Jamaica, all Caribbean Airlines passenger services will cease by midnight tonight, Saturday, March 21st. In Trinidad, all other international Caribbean Airlines passenger services will cease by midnight on Sunday, March 22nd. Services between Trinidad and Tobago will continue to operate on an adjusted frequency schedule. CAL says if you have a booking on an affected service, there is no need to contact our call center at this time. Your booking will be automatically cancelled and there will be no need to take any further action. Tomorrow, Sunday, Caribbean Airlines will operate a flight from Guyana to Trinidad. The flight number is BW3462 and will depart Guyana at 11:10 a.m. tomorrow for Trinidad.
Grenada has reported its first case of COVID-19. The patient is a woman who arrived on the island on March 16 from the United Kingdom and began showing symptoms on March 17. Health Minister Nicholas Steele provided an update on Sunday.
So, I announce that today, Sunday, March 22nd, 2020, the first laboratory confirmed case of COVID-19 in Grenada was diagnosed. Officials of the Ministry of Health are now aggressively conducting contact tracing. This is an imported case, and the patient is now in isolation to prevent the potential spread of the disease.
In St. Lucia, Prime Minister Alan Chastity announced a raft of measures to contain the spread of COVID-19, including island-wide curfews. There are 2 reported cases of virus in that country.
Only 2 confirmed cases of the coronavirus have been recorded in St. Lucia, and both cases were imported from the UK. Since then, the St. Lucian government expanded travel restrictions to include countries such as mainland France, Germany, Spain, and the United Kingdom. Screening protocols for persons arriving at both air and seaports were also strengthened. Individuals displaying any signs and symptoms were quarantined for a period of 14 days pending their test results from CAFRA. Added to that, Prime Minister Alan Chastity on Friday announced that government, effective March 23rd, would be implementing stringent social distancing protocols to protect the country from contracting more cases of the virus. Already, we have seen the closure of schools. All non-essential commercial services will be closed as well to reduce public interaction for a period of 2 weeks. Bars and restaurants have been ordered to close. Several resorts on the island, unfortunately, have been closed as well. Businesses are encouraged to work from home where possible. And also, one of the announcements the Prime Minister made was that of an island-wide curfew from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. daily, and that will run until April 5th. St. Lucians, are adhering to following the protocols. From since the Ministry of Health encouraged social distancing, the busy areas, especially in the city, are now, a ghost town. I think we have done a fantastic job in terms of containment and protocols. It is something new for us as citizens, but we are doing well. We are a resilient people, and we just want to see this nightmare over.
In sports, we're on track with athletics, as Jamaican track and field coach Stephen Francis does not foresee athletes being too negatively affected, even if this summer's Olympics in Tokyo, Japan is cancelled because of the COVID-19 virus. The global quadrennial event is usually a platform for athletes to break onto the international scene, especially in the sport of track and field. But Francis says athletes shouldn't be too worried about losing out on the opportunity to compete at the Olympics. The veteran coach, who conditions the likes of Olympic champions Shelley-Ann Fraser-Price and Asafa Powell, has, however, says he expects that the athletes in the U.S. collegiate system to suffer the biggest setback, as they normally use the NCAA championships to showcase their credentials for the professional ranks. Japan's Prime Minister says postponing the 2020 Olympics may become inevitable if the new coronavirus outbreak makes it impossible to hold the Games safely. The comments were his first acknowledgement of the possibility that the Games may not open as scheduled on July 24 as the coronavirus continues to spread across the world. Overnight, the International Olympic Committee has also shifted its tone on the Games, saying it would step up planning for different scenarios, including the postponement. The IOC is responsible for making any final decision on the Games and has come under increasing pressure from athletes and sports associations worldwide as the coronavirus grows. And the Canadian Olympic Committee says it won't send athletes to the Tokyo Games unless they're postponed for a year. The committee sent out a statement Sunday evening saying it was willing to help the IOC search for alternatives, but that it was not safe for athletes to continue training for these Games. Canada brought 314 athletes who combined to win 22 medals at the Rio Games back in 2016. The Australian Broadcasting Commission is also reporting that the nation's Olympic athletes have also been told to plan for the Games to be delayed until next year. It said the Australian team, quote, could not be assembled in the changing circumstances at home and abroad, end quote. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, stay safe.